Hello, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. First, before we get started, if you haven't already done so, this is a great space. Please feel free to use it up and fill it up. There are some yoga mats in the back and some cushions. I would recommend getting those out and getting comfortable, taking your shoes off. There are some parts of this class where we'll be laying down or wanting to be relaxed and sitting down for most of it. So if you haven't already done that, pull those out, pause the video, pull them out, and then replay whenever you are ready. All right, let's get into it. First of all, welcome again. I am Miranda Merkis. I have been practicing bodywork for over 16 years, and I've been with GHC for over 14 of those. I have come to learn about the nervous system and its amazing qualities and benefits of learning how to regulate it through my own personal journey of chronic pain, depression, and anxiety, and also through my clinical practice helping others and finding out what has given my clients the best results. So this class is called Returning to Regulation. We're going to be learning a lot about the autonomic nervous system and neural exercises to regulate and increase our resilience to stress factors in our lives. First, I'd like to just have us take a look at this awesome picture of the vagus nerve. It's a really great illustration. I'm going to be talking a lot about the vagus nerve and stimulating it and exercising it because that has the biggest influence on our nervous system. So you can see it's a really long nerve. It's actually the longest cranial nerve in our body, and it splits into two, so that's why we call it polyvagal, so many, two, and then vagal, vagus nerve. So you can see how it touches everything in our body pretty much. All of the major organs, all of our hormonal organs, stress hormones, everything from our throat to our chest and lungs, our diaphragm, all of our entire GI tract. It really has a lot of contact and a lot of influence on different systems in our bodies. So I just wanted us to take a look at that really quick. Before we get too far into class, I just want to let you guys know this is your time. And I want to meet you where you are. So if you're not in a place where you're able to listen or practice some of these exercises that we'll do later on, that's okay. Just take care of your needs. If you need to walk around a little bit, stretch, sit, lay, do whatever you need to do. I just ask that you try not to be too disruptive to others. You have some handouts. So the handouts are for everything that I'll be teaching. This is just one half of the class. So we might not get to everything in the handouts, but we'll finish up and we'll get to those during the next class. Feel free to mark them up, use them, look through them, they're yours to keep. Today we're going to be doing mostly understanding the nervous system, really getting to know it, and then some short practical neural exercises that are really easy to do all throughout the day. They don't take very much time, they don't take a lot of space, so really practical ones. The other class will be focusing on two longer techniques. So those we won't get to today. They're going to be the focusing exercise and the Wim Hof method. Those will be in another class. So for today, get comfortable, sit back. We're going to just do a little bit of lecturing to begin with, and then we'll go into the exercises. All right. I also have this blown up in a big sheet for you because I think it's such a great visual of the autonomic nervous system. So first of all, what is the autonomic nervous system? It's automatic, meaning it does things on its own. It decides what it's going to do and how it's going to do it. It is our survival response system. It's what keeps us alive. So thank you so much, autonomic nervous system, for getting me where I am today. There are three different states in the autonomic nervous system. So we have social engagement. It used to be called rest digest, but now we call it social engagement because of its importance. Being socially engaged, having connection is really, really important to be able to be in that regulated, healthy state. So on the left side, the big boxes, it shows you what state you're in, and then it also is going to kind of show you some of the mental state. So obviously when you're in social engagement, calm, connected, settled, compassionate, open, and curious. That's the state we want to be in, right? On the right-hand side, it shows all of the physiological things that are happening when we are in these states. So you can see when we're in a social engagement state, our digestion is functioning great, our resistance to infections, so our immunity response is really good. We can rest, we're able to recover from the day's events. Health, vitality, circulation, oxytocin, those are all increased and we're able to function really, really well. Now what decreases are our defensive responses. So when something happens, we're just not as defensive, we're more grounded. That's the state we generally want to be in. But there are times when we need to go into a survival state, like fight, flight, or freeze, fawn. And you can see emotionally what state and you'll be feeling things. Rage, anger, fight, flight. Freeze, that's when you're disassociating, depressed, numb, that really shut down. And then on the right-hand side, feel free to take your time and just take a look at how things are affected in our bodies. So our nervous system is really affecting us physiologically in our bodies and our mental space. It's really the lens in which we see the world. Now, this black line, that is our stress response. So we're hanging out, we're going for a walk, we hear rustling in the bushes. Activation, going to activate, putting us into a fight, flight, maybe in a freeze, maybe even a freeze, fawn state. Because that rustling bush could be a potential threat. So our nervous system is going to be kind of scanning our environment 24/7, our internal environment, our external environment, and even the world environment, to decide what state we should be in. Should we be? Are we safe? Are we going to be in a social engagement state? Or do we need to go into fight, flight mode? Or maybe freeze, fawn mode? It decides what state we're going to be in. So, deactivation. That's where the big tricky part comes in. Our nervous system is basically a caveman's nervous system. It hasn't really evolved for modern day stress. Our nervous system detects a danger or a threat, and it just assumes that we're going to be able to fight or flight, run away from it. Or we have to freeze, be totally still, so the threat goes away, right? Our threats, our danger, it's usually not short-term things. It's usually things that are around us 24/7 that never go away. We don't have bears attacking us very often, do we? Which is great, but our nervous systems, it doesn't know how to react to bills, interpersonal relationships, things that happened to us in the past that we never fully recovered from, that we never fully released from our body. So we need to do something to create that deactivation. If we can't fight it off physically and we can't run away from it, we have to do something to trigger a deactivation to get us back into a rest digest state, a social engagement state, so we're not stuck in this chronic fight, flight, freeze, fawn states. Short term, going into these states is wonderful. That's what keeps us alive. When we're stuck in them long term, it's just not sustainable. Our mental health will decline, our physical health will decline. So really feel free to just take your time reading all of the different things, find out what state you're in. The first, I'll give you a little heads up, a little preview. The first and most important thing to deactivation is recognition. It's really recognizing what state you're in and knowing that you're not in that social engagement state, and being able to just recognize it will start that deactivation. All right, so some key points. This impacts our view of the world. If we're stuck in a fight-flight state, we're stuck seeing everything as a potential danger. If we're stuck in a freeze-fawn state, everything is a potential threat. It's a really tough way to live. Our frontal cortex, the frontal lobe, that's our newest part of the brain in humans' existence and in our existence, and it just sort of goes offline. So our frontal cortex, that's our reasoning, our communication, our rational, capable thoughts, goes offline. It's really not needed. What we need is pure instincts to survive this potential threat. So it's really not a matter of thinking your way out of it. If only that worked, right? If only we could say, I know I'm safe, and then everything knows it's safe, and all of a sudden we're in this great social engagement state, and our blood pressure isn't up, and our muscles aren't super tight, or we actually feel like getting off the couch or out of bed and taking a shower and enjoying life. If only we could say that to ourselves, if only we could convince ourselves. But the frontal cortex really doesn't have a lot to do with our survival system. It impacts our health, our physical health. So a lot of times people kind of focus on this, the anxiety, their mental state, depression. If it hasn't already triggered some chronic health issues, GI issues, IBS, Crohn's, chronic pain, autoimmune issues, it probably will eventually, or vice versa. All right, it's automatic. It's been on autopilot from day one, but it's now time that we take the wheel. And we can do that through these neural exercises. We do have influence, okay? we can make this work. We can get ourselves back into a healthy state. We can repair our nervous system. All right, first, recognition. It's really powerful. It's sometimes the first step. The other part, we talk about this vagus nerve a lot. Well, the reason why is because 80% of that nerve's fibers are afferent fibers. That means it sends signals to the brain when stimulated versus the brain telling the body what to do. Our body can actually tell our brain what to do via the vagus nerve. It's kind of like cell service, I say. Our vagus nerve and how it helps impact our messaging. If our vagus nerve is maybe weak, rigid, it might even have lesions on it, it's kind of like really spotty cell service. You could be making the call and maybe it's connecting, maybe it's not, but it's like the message just isn't getting there. So a lot of these vagus nerves that are meant to heal the vagus nerve are so that all the work you're doing, the therapy, the journaling, the meditation, the exercising, all of it is actually getting to the brain. So a healthy vagus nerve is really, really important. And then obviously we're going to be learning a lot of neural exercises. The next part we're going to talk about a little bit is social engagement, that connection. Now, we're all here together, we're all in it and hopefully supporting one another, but there's really not a whole lot of exercises I'm going to be doing talking about connection or working on connection just for the sake of time. I'll have you quick look at this quote because I think it's really important, and that is, safety is much more than the absence of threat. It is the presence of connection. Connection is so vitally important for our body and brain to feel safe, for our nervous system to truly feel that we're safe. We need connection, and we need authentic connection. We need to feel like we can authentically be us with other people supporting us, and they can be authentic with us. That reciprocity of helping each other out. It's really important. We are wired for co-regulation, meaning our nervous systems sync up. We regulate each other. We help each other regulate. And when we're born, we can't regulate ourselves at all. We're just babies. You know, I like to say animals are often born with the one innate gift, survival mechanism. You know, giraffes, they can run within hours of being born. Fish just know how to swim away. Humans know how to cry for help. And oftentimes we lose that. We lose that ability to be able to ask for help, to feel safe asking for help. We never actually lose the need to co-regulate. So even though as we get older, we know how to self-soothe in ways, sometimes they're not always healthy ways, they're quick fixes, but we never lose that need. And I also recognize that people aren't always safe. So if you're somebody who understands you really need that connection, you need to help co-regulate, but humans aren't a safe choice for you right now, pets are. All mammals are able to help other mammals co-regulate. So that's why people often will get pets and why petting is so important. So if you don't want to be with people yet, be with some animals. Get some mammals, cats, dogs, whatever works, and start petting them and cuddling with them. Other things you can do that help to foster that co-regulation, that healthy, safe feeling, is sometimes it's just talking it out. Being with somebody and letting them listen to what your needs are and your concerns are. And hearing theirs too, just talking it out. A 20-second hug from somebody that you really like, a 6-second kiss from somebody you love, and playing. Playing is so important. When we're able to play, whether that's online with people in a healthy, nice, kind, non-bullying way, or it's outside playing a sport, or it's playing a board game, whatever that looks like for you. Playing, when we're able to play, our brains say, oh, well, if I'm able to do this, then I must be safe. So again, we're using our body, we're using stimulating techniques to tell our brain what to do for a change. All right. So, what are some of these neural exercises we're going to be learning? Some are going to be vagus nerves. We're literally going to be doing a lot of stimulating this frontal vagal nerve. It's going to help increase the tone of it, the flexibility of it, the efficiency of the vagus nerve. And one way to test if your vagus nerve is deficient or not super healthy is actually by looking at the back of your throat. So if you go into the mirror and you open your mouth and you go, ah, 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 you're looking for the uvula, the little dangly thing, and then the two arches on either side. And you're looking for symmetry. Every time you do a staccato ah, it should raise up. And when it raises, if the uvula is still centered and the arches are pretty equal, you have a pretty efficient, pretty good vagus nerve, which means all these other exercises are just going to really be beneficial for you. They're really going to feel like they work. They're going to feel like they do something. You're going to notice it. Now, if it's asymmetrical, maybe one side's weaker, so the arch is a little bit lower, a little bit smaller, maybe the uvula hooks to one side, that lets you know you probably need a little extra vagus nerve support. Maybe do a few more of these vagus nerve exercises throughout the day to get that strong. We're also going to be learning some breathing exercises. And I know we've been taught breathing exercises and told to breathe this way and that way. Well, why does it work? A lot of times, what we're doing is we're focusing on elongating an exhale, slowing the breath down. When we elongate the exhale, it engages the vagal brake, which slows the heart rate down. When the heart rate starts to slow, it tells the brain, oh, we must be safe now. Singing is a really easy, natural way to elongate your exhale. Whistling, humming, talking. Some other breathing exercises are going to be ones that have really good diaphragm, really belly breathing. And like we've seen in that picture of the vagus nerve, it runs right through our diaphragm and our lungs, so, and right past our stomach. So when we have these really big belly breaths and we're pressing, we're stimulating that nerve, triggering that deactivation, putting us back into social engagement state. So that's why breathing can be really effective. Some other exercises or neural exercises are things called stress response enders, or cues telling our brain we're safe. Things like dancing, shaking it out, yoga, being creative. If you have the space and time to write a story or paint or craft, that lets your body know, I'm safe because I have time to do this, because if I was in danger and there was a bear attacking me, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to access that part of my brain. Exercise is probably one of the most researched effective ways to get us back into regulation. Moving the body. It's all about the body. In the back of your handout, there's going to be some book recommendations, and one of them is The Body Keeps the Score. It is an absolutely fabulous book, and it's all the research that explains how trauma, big T, little t, and stress is stored in the body. That's why so much of this has to do with our body. And so much of our healing is going to be moving our body or stimulating it in some way, making the body feel safe, convincing the body. And then, of course, other neural exercises would be social connection, things that really foster that connection with other people. Okay, so before we begin some of these vagus nerve exercises, I always recommend doing a check-in. Just kind of scan your body, make a note, mental note. How am I feeling mentally, physically, emotionally? How's my heart rate? How's my breathing? Am I holding any tension in my hips, in my legs, in my glutes? Doing a check-in, because often when we first start these exercises, they're pretty subtle. Sometimes not so much. Sometimes you really notice it, but sometimes they're subtle. So checking in before and after, so you can really feel, how did that affect me? And you're going to notice what you do in today, how it makes you feel today, may be different than when you try it at home or in 5 days from now, because your nervous system might be in a different place, right? So all of these sort of meet you where you are. So I really recommend trying these exercises out a handful of times, each one of them, because today, as we're doing maybe this first basic exercise that we'll be learning, you might not really notice much, but then when you come home and tonight, later on, as you're laying in bed and you try it, you might be like, oh, now I get it. So really give them a few chances before you decide which ones are your favorites. When we're doing vagus nerve specific exercises, the first handful of exercises I'll be teaching, we're looking for a spontaneous reaction of the body to let us know we did it, we got our job done, we stimulated that vagus nerve. These are going to be things like a spontaneous yawn, a sigh, a swallow, which is a really easy one to miss because we do it so often and it's such a small, subtle thing. An emotional response, you may notice getting a little bit teary, a little bit tighter in the chest, just as things come up and out. Or you might even notice just a really deep settling into your body. It's really common to get dizzy. So this first exercise that we're going to do it laying down because you're probably going to get dizzy. So I'm going to explain the exercise, I'm going to show it to you, and then we'll spend a little bit of time doing it together. So this first one is called the basic exercise. It's a reset. This was created by Steven Rosenberg, who is a really good friend and colleague of Stephen Porges, who is the creator of polyvagal theory. So they worked together and they found that these are some of the best techniques to work. They're really subtle. When you first do it, you might be like, how is this doing it. It doesn't feel like I'm doing anything, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, whew, okay, never mind. It's doing something. So this is the basic resetting, getting us back down into regulating state. You're going to lay down. Just wait until I'm done explaining it, and then I'll have you lay down and I'll time it out. But you're going to lay down, just cradling your head, letting it be nice and heavy. And then you're going to pick one side and you're going to look towards an elbow. You're not going to move your head at all. You want to keep it very, very straight. And you're going to look towards one elbow. Your head's going to want to do this, and you just have to try to resist. And you're going to do this until you have one of those responses. A yawn, a sigh, a swallow, a deeper settling in. And then you're going to look straight once you've had that, and this is where you'll be like, oh, I'm dizzy. And then once you're not dizzy, you're going to do the other side. Now, you might notice one side is harder than another. That's normal. That's okay. That probably just means one side of the vagus nerve is a little bit more in need of some work. If looking at your elbows is just too hard, just bring them in a little bit. Or pick a spot on the wall that's not so far lateral for you. So for class, I'll have us hold each side for 30 seconds, but normally you would wait until you have that response. So I'll have everybody lay down, get comfortable. Your head nice and heavy in your hands. When you're ready, I'll have you look towards one side, one elbow, keeping your head very, very straight for 30 seconds. Just waiting for that response. Spontaneous sigh, a swallow, a yawn. Maybe it's just a deeper settling into your body. All right, now you're going to look straight, and this is where you're going to be dizzy. It's a little bit wild at first that something so simple can make you that dizzy. That's why we do it laying down. And when you're ready, we'll do the same thing. Head nice and straight, and then just look towards the other elbow, and I'll keep track for 30 seconds. Waiting for that spontaneous response that yes, we did stimulate the vagus nerve. And when you do this at home, you'll be able to do this sitting back in a chair, no problem at this point. And I wouldn't hold this technique for any longer than, a minute, minute and a half. All right, and when you're ready, you can look straight again. So take your time here. When you're ready, you can sit up, but just ease into sitting up a little bit. All right. Did any of you notice one side being harder or more challenging than another? You might notice that one side you had a response and the other side you didn't, or maybe you didn't get any response in that 30 seconds, and that's okay. I notice when I'm really dysregulated, sometimes I have to do a couple rounds, and I usually only hold it each side for like a few moments. I'm not timing it when I do it. One of my favorite quotes is, don't think in time, don't think in numbers, think in feeling. And that's what this is really about. All of these exercises are really about getting you back into your body so you can feel what it needs and what feels right and what's going to be the best thing to help regulate you and get safe again. All right, so half salamander is the other one. The nice part about this is that it also really helps to elongate that cervical spine and create space. And it's really simple, but you're going to be thinking when you have your head to the side, you're going to be thinking about hinging at the very top. the very top, right where your head attaches to the spine. So it's not just ear to shoulder, it's tilt your ear to shoulder. So does that make sense? Not just a neck stretch, but a tilt. It'll feel a little weird. You want your chin to be directly over your sternum. And again, you don't want to move your head, just your eyes. And you're going to look towards that shoulder. Sometimes I can't even get my eye to see that shoulder, even though sometimes I'm like this. So I'll put my hand out like this, and I'll kind of move my fingers so it gives me something to look at. So if shoulder is too far for your eyes, then just look at your hand or somewhere close to your shoulder. So we'll do the same thing. Pick a side, get comfortable. You can do this sitting up. And I'll do for 30 seconds in class, but you're waiting for that response. So tilt at the very top, and then look towards that shoulder for 30 seconds. So I just sighed, so I know I triggered it, but we're going to hold it for a little bit longer just for class. For a yawn, a swallow. Whenever you're ready, you can look straight, and this is when you're going to be dizzy. All right, and now for the other side. Again, tilt at the very top, ear to shoulder, look towards that shoulder, and wait for 30 seconds. Slowing the breath, getting back into the body, just waiting for a response. Swallow, sigh, a deeper settling. You might notice an emotion coming up, stored in the body, and we are moving the body and releasing. You can look straight and get reorientated. All right. Now we have a neurofascial release technique. So this is an alternate to the basic. The basic is really uncomfortable, or you don't have the space to lay down or lean back into a chair. You can do a releasing of the fascia. So you can see in the picture, she's holding right at the base of her skull, those muscles right back there. You probably notice a lot of tension. That's one of the other reasons why we don't move our head, but we move our eyes, is because our eye muscles are connected to those muscles in the back. So when we keep our head straight but move those, we're actually releasing a lot of the fascia around the vagus nerve as it comes out of the brainstem. So fascial release is done very lightly, only about 5 grams of pressure. It's about the weight of a nickel. So not very much. It's really just enough to move the skin. So I kind of do one of these. This is me moving fascia. I'm just barely engaging the skin and just noticing resistance as I pull up or down, or back or forth. And that's what we're doing right here on either side. We're just looking for that restriction, that's stopping. And I'll do all directions, I'll test. And I'm just seeing if I go up or down, which one is the most restricted, which one stops me the fastest, what direction. And I'll hold that direction. So for me, it is down. So I'm going to just press about 5 grams of pressure, just enough to get the skin to move. And then as soon as I pull it down and I feel that stopping me, I'm just going to hold it. Hold it for a few moments, maybe up to 2 minutes, not very long. You might not notice the release in the muscles or in the fascia, but it's releasing around the nerve, and that's what matters. And you should feel a sense of calm relaxation. All right, shake it out. This is one of those this is one of those stress response enders or cues that our bodies are doing. You know, shaking is such a fascinating thing because all mammals do this naturally. This is how our systems are meant to process out a stressful event or stress. This is how we're designed to do it. So oftentimes in nature, we'll notice the classic story of the cheetah and the gazelle. A little baby gazelle is running away from the cheetah. It knows it can't fight the cheetah off. It knows it cannot, and this is the nervous system talking cognitively. It probably can't make that decision. It's in a survival state. Its cognitive frontal lobe, if it has one, is not functioning right. So it's the nervous system is deciding, I know I can't fight this thing off. I know I can't run from it. So I'm going to freeze. And it plays dead. Lays down, plays dead. By the time the cheetah catches up to it, it thinks, oh, this isn't fresh meat anymore. I want it alive, killed. So it leaves it. And once the coast is clear, the gazelle gets up and it will just shake. Just the whole body shaking. It's processing that stressful event. It's deactivating the stress and getting back into social engagement state, which it does once it's done shaking. It goes back to its herd and it is surrounded and probably feeds from its mother and all is well. No stored trauma, no stored stress. Ah, isn't that wonderful? To be a wild animal, huh? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get back in touch with that instinct in us. And the greatest thing about this is it doesn't have to be automatic. We can force ourselves to shake and our bodies still respond, our nervous system still regulate. It doesn't matter whether it's a naturally occurring thing or we're doing it ourselves. So we're going to do it for about a minute and a half. So there are a few different types of shaking. And I like shaking it out because it really meets you where you are. So if you're in that freeze fawn state, I mean, if you're at the point where you're like, you can barely get out of the bed, the fact that you're here today is a miracle, then your shaking it out might look a little bit more like a jostle. You might be sitting down and it might just be a rock, or you might lay down, and I hope that you'll be able to see this, but I'm going to do a lay down version of the jostle. I'm going to get up here, and I'm just going to jiggle my body a little bit. I'm doing up and down. Heels are kind of planted in, helping me get that push. Or maybe I wiggle a little bit. Maybe do really slow. Faster. Play around with it a little bit, right? Like, feel what feels the best for you. What makes you feel like, oh, this just feels really nice. Or maybe you're in a fight-flight state. Maybe your anxiety is all over the place. Well, that's a really great one that you'll probably see athletes do all the time. You see them on the field. You know, just shaking it out. They're just shaking out their nerves, bouncing maybe. Maybe it's a whole shake. Really play around, because one, playing is going to help trigger a deactivation into regulation, and it's going to help you learn and experiment and get used to being in your body and what feels right and trusting what feels right. Not what you think you should be doing, but what your body enjoys the most. So I'll have you guys either lay down, sit down, stand up, whatever you want to do, whatever kind of shaking. I'm going to play some music, and when you're at home, I really recommend picking some music that matches your mood or emotional state. So today I'm going to be playing Shake It Out by Florence and the Machine, but maybe you have a little bit of extra energy and you want some Hey Ya by Outkast or some Taylor Swift or Gorillaz, Shake It, or Feel Good. So whatever music you want, I recommend matching your mood. So we'll do it for about a minute, minute and a half. Great. What do you guys think? I'm going to be all out of breath for a little bit, but that's okay. Because now I'm more regulated. Take a second and just be in your body right now. Catch your breath. Feel your whole body. I feel like I have space in my body that I didn't notice before. I feel really grounded. All that bouncing, stomping on the ground. I just feel nice. And hopefully you guys do too. Hopefully you didn't let me do this alone. Oh. All right. So, some easier stuff now that we're going to do. Or less active stuff, I should say. Shaking it out's great. Shaking it out's easy. Some ear massage. So, we talk a lot about the vagus nerve, right? Because it impacts so much. It's so large. There's so many different ways to be able to stimulate it. But there are 4 other cranial nerves that help the autonomic nervous system regulate. And they're mostly in our head and face. A lot of them are around the ears. So, ear massage is going to be a great way to stimulate that. This is just a suggestion. Do what feels right. Don't think in time, don't think in numbers, don't think of specific strokes or things to do necessarily. Think in feeling. If it feels good, you're doing it right and you're stimulating that response to regulate. So it can be anything, just a normal rubbing around. Just start tugging, playing, rubbing, pinching around the ear. Just start to get to the feel of what is enjoyable and what's relaxing. So this is a guide just to get you started, just to have you try different things that you might not think of. First is the concha area. Now, it's not the ear canal, and it's not this top one. It's this little groove right in here. And again, we're working with fascia, we're working with the nerves. It doesn't need a lot of pressure, about 5 grams, the weight of a nickel, just enough to get the skin moving. And I will it around a little. We'll try the other side. And again, you might notice one side feels like it likes it more or needs it more. And so far, besides the shaking it out, I mean, all of these you can pretty much do in front of people and they're not going to know, right? Like the basic. Sitting down at your desk, nobody's going to know. They're just think you're taking a, minute break. They're going to think you're stretching your neck. They're just going to think you're rubbing your ear. All right, so you got the concha. Now let's go into the entrance of the ear. You're not going really in it, you're just barely there. And what you're going to be doing is looking to stimulate the back part. So you're going to be pushing towards the back of your head. And again, I kind of go up and down like a swoop. That feels good to me, but you do whatever feels right. Alright. Now we'll do a little fascial stuff behind the ears. This part right here, lots of the nerves come right back here. Sometimes I'll start with maybe a little Spock hand, just loosening things up so you can do whatever feels good as far as pressure. But when we're releasing the fascia, again, just enough pressure to engage the skin, and I just test out. I go up, I go down, I go back, and I'm trying to see which direction is giving me the most resistance, which one can I barely move, and I go in towards that one. Now you could do all directions and just, hold each for 30-ish seconds. That way you know you're getting it all, but if you're crunched for time, just pick one direction. Same with the ear pull. You're kind of going at a 45-degree angle, out and away, up and away, and down and away. And just enough pull to engage the skin. Yanking it off here. And if you do too much pressure, it's really not the end of the world. It just might take it a little bit longer to release. So, let's look at some breathing. This is a chin tuck breathing. In yoga, they call it Jalandhara. It's the chin tuck breathing technique. And I have a pretty standard triangle breathing for this, but you can do box breathing, you can do 4 counts, you can do 10 counts, you can do elongating that exhale, so you're kind of doubling things up. So the trick with this is you're doing this breathing technique to start to regulate your heart rate. I like to elongate my exhale, so we'll say about 8 seconds. But what you're doing when you hold your breath, you tuck your chin. Inhale, head is up. Exhale, head is up. When you hold your breath, chin tuck. And a lot of times what you're doing is all of that cartilage around the throat is massaging that vagus nerve. So it's just this really great stimulating vagus nerve technique too. So for the sake of class, we'll inhale for 4. We will chin tuck hold for 4. And let's exhale for 8. So we'll do it 3 times all together. So if you guys want to take a seat, get comfortable, nice straight spine, and ready to inhale. Chin tuck hold. Exhale for a count of 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4. Chin tuck for 4. And exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4. Tuck 4. Exhale 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, I've tried some of these techniques, a lot, in a lot of different scenarios. And I was really curious just how much benefit I would get in kind of an immediate situation where my anxiety was like on the verge of a panic attack. So last March, I believe, I went down to visit my husband in Florida, and on the way back, I was looking at the itinerary for the flight and layover, and I was pretty much guessing I'm going to miss my connecting flight in Atlanta to Madison. And I have like big anxiety around time. So we didn't even, you know, it's raining, it's storming in Florida, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, anxiety. And I thought, okay, here's a perfect opportunity to let me try this out. All I did was elongate my exhale 2 times. That was it. And it worked. Now, granted, I've been doing a lot of these neural exercises, a lot of vagus nerve exercises, a lot of different things to really build my resistance over the last 2-3 years, but 2 breaths and I avoided a panic attack. I mean, that was pretty amazing. So hopefully you guys can get to that point too, where you just have a really good functioning nervous system that knows how to get back to regulation really fast. All right, let's do another breathing one. This will be the last exercise we do until next class. This is called the letting go breath. So what this is simulating, I just want to kind of preface this before we do it, is a fight-flight response. So you might notice that building in your body, that anxiety. That's the point. We're giving it a decent workout. We're saying, see, we can get into this like heightened state and then we can come right back down. So what it's simulating sort of is like if you were underwater and you need oxygen, but you're really deep and you don't think you're going to make it, you need oxygen, and finally you break the surface and you can breathe. That's what we're simulating, that's what we're getting. Don't ever force this. You do that, listen to your body, start small. I don't want anybody to be triggered into, you know, passing out by holding their breath too long or triggering anxiety too much. This is just a nice little like exercise, a healthy stress. So you inhale slowly, about 4 seconds. You're going to exhale very slowly, at least 10 seconds, but you want all of the oxygen out of your lungs. And then you can either do this and you're pressing. My wrists tend to get tired, so I like to do this. And you're going to be doing it so hard, you're basically using up all the oxygen in your muscles too. And what that's going to be doing is it's going to force you to have to take a breath faster. Otherwise, we'd be at this a lot longer. So you want to be using a lot of force. If you don't want to use your arms, you can hug yourself, whatever feels right. But the idea is that we're tensing up our muscles to push all the oxygen, use all the oxygen in the muscles out too, so we're forced to inhale faster. Once you can no longer hold your breath anymore, you take that inhale, that gasping inhale. All right, so we're gonna do it about 3 times, and you're gonna do it at your own pace because you're gonna be holding your breath for different lengths of time than other people in class because we all have different capacities. So let's start all together with one nice slow 4-second inhale, a 10-second exhale, hold together, and then we'll sort of be on our own pace. All right, let's begin. Inhale. Exhale. Everything out. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Push, push, push. Breathing out, no oxygen in the lungs. And again, when you're done, take a drink of water. When you're done, just be in your body for a second. Just notice again. You may notice after this class and doing all these exercises and really stimulating, you may notice that you're really tired, you're really exhausted, and that's okay. This is a lot of work for our nervous system. It hasn't been driven and pulled back into that regulated state with so much vigor. So be in your body right now and just connect a little bit. Maybe stretch. Hopefully being in your body right now feels really good. Just embrace that. Hopefully your body feels really safe and you can embrace that and know what it feels like to be safe. And you can try these exercises, like I said, all throughout the day, every single day. Most of these exercises, well, all of these exercises are going to really help aid in digestion and sleep too. So if you have a hard time remembering when to do certain exercises, just think anytime before I eat. So hopefully that's, at least, 4 to 6 times a day. Otherwise you can morning, afternoon, night, whenever you can think of it. Practice, play around, see what feels the best for you and what seems to get the best results. And again, this is the workout, right? You didn't go to the gym and be able to just bench press, 150 pounds. You have to start slow and then you start seeing the results. So, give it a really good shot and try it out for the next week and just see how you go. And hopefully next Thursday I get to see you guys and check in with you and we can discuss how it went. Thank you guys so much for participating. Thank you for being here. I really look forward to seeing you in person. And if you have any questions, you can either my chart me, Miranda Merkis, or you can send me an email at mmerkis@ghcscw.com. Wendy can get you that information if you need it. And also in your My Chart notes for this class, you should be able to, on My Chart, see this appointment and click the notes and you'll see a whole bunch of notes. There'll also be different video links that you can copy and paste and watch some videos of different things. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming and take care. Be well. Bye.